The Webb Telescope gives us a new look at a very old world. Hi there, everyone. I'm Jeff, and this is Plain English, lesson number 491. JR is the producer, and he has uploaded today's lesson to plainenglish.com/491. Now listen, 491 is getting dangerously close to 500, and we have never done anything out of the ordinary for an anniversary or anything like that. But I think we need to celebrate 500 episodes together. So listen until the end, and I'll tell you what we're planning, and most importantly, how you can be involved in the celebration. But first, just 7 months after it launched, the James Webb Space Telescope has sent its first images back to Earth. They are just a taste of what's to come, as the telescope will help scientists peer deep into space and back in time. In the second half of the lesson, we'll talk about the phrasal verb turn over, and JR has a song of the week. Let's dive in. The James Webb Space Telescope began its journey on Christmas morning 2021 from a launch site in French Guiana, an overseas territory of France in South America. Almost 20 years in the making, the telescope promised to deliver images from deep space that could improve our understanding of the universe, how it was created, how it has developed, and what it might contain today. The Webb Telescope is a joint project with space agencies from America, Canada, and Europe, all collaborating on its design. Over 20,000 engineers, astronomers, technicians, scientists, and other workers have touched the project since it began in 2002. Just over 7 months since its launch, the telescope sent its first images back to Earth in the middle of last month. I'll tell you more about those images next week. But first, you need to know what's so special about the Webb Telescope. This telescope is designed to peer into the farthest reaches of the universe using an infrared lens. The Webb Telescope will build on discoveries made with the Hubble telescope, which has been in orbit since 1990. The Hubble's images capture primarily ultraviolet and visible light, and they have led to breakthroughs in astronomy. For example, thanks to the Hubble, astronomers now know that the universe is ever expanding. The Webb is an improvement in 2 ways. First, it's a more powerful lens. The mirror that helps the Hubble take images is 2.5 meters across. The Webb's will be 6.8 meters across. And the Webb will be able to capture infrared images. The infrared images will let it see through dust and gas that would cloud the images from other telescopes. The Webb's mission has 4 parts. First, it will investigate the first light of the universe. Under the Big Bang Theory, the universe in its early days contained only particles like electrons, protons, and neutrons. There was no light until these particles cooled off and started combining. The first stars came shortly thereafter. The Webb telescope is powerful enough, astronomers think, to study these early forms of light. Remember, in astronomy, time and distance are related because the universe is ever expanding. So if something is far away, on the outer edges of the universe, then that means it started a long time ago. The Webb telescope is powerful enough to see light very far away, so far away that it started near the beginning of the universe. The second part of the mission is to study the composition and arrangement of galaxies. When we think of galaxies today, we think of spirals and ellipses. But those are images from galaxies relatively close to Earth. By studying the composition of galaxies farther away, astronomers hope to understand how the earlier ones formed. There's a part of the universe about 7,000 light years from Earth called the Eagle Nebula. That part of the universe is known as the star birthplace. In the Eagle Nebula, stars form in clouds of gas. But those very clouds make it hard to see how the stars form. The gas obscures the view from telescopes. But the Webb's infrared telescope can see through that gas to provide a window on how new stars form. That's the third part of the mission. And the last part is to look closer to home, but more in depth. The Kepler telescope spent over 9 years in deep space, and its images revealed over 2,600 exoplanets. Those are planets that revolve around other stars that are not our sun. The Webb telescope will be able to take a closer look at those planets, study their atmospheres, and determine whether any of them are likely to support life. Together, astronomers hope to unravel the mysteries of the universe by studying these 4 parts of the mission. But before they can do that, they need a reservation. Having successfully launched the telescope, project engineers who launched the telescope will turn it over to the Space Telescope Science Institute, a division of NASA based in the American city of Baltimore. That agency gets to determine who can use the telescope and for what reason. There are 6,000 telescope hours available in the first year, and over 24,000 hours of applications, so a lot of astronomers will be disappointed. But there is a silver lining. One constraint on a telescope's total life is its fuel. A telescope needs fuel to make minor adjustments to its positioning, and that takes precious fuel. But the launch was so successful that the Webb saved a lot of fuel on its way up to its current position. And that fuel savings means that the Webb might stay in service for 20 years, well above the initial estimate of just 10 years. So next week, probably on Thursday, we'll talk about some of the images that came back, and we'll also talk about how the Webb telescope was almost canceled back in 2011. Here's an interesting fact about the Webb telescope. It's sitting at something called a Lagrange point. Now, anywhere in the universe, large bodies exert gravitational pull on other things nearby. So gravity will move objects out in space, right? So imagine you have two large objects, like the sun and the earth, both exerting gravitational pull on a small object like a telescope. You can imagine how hard it is to stand still somewhere in space if gravity is pulling you in two directions. Well, whenever there are two large objects, there are 5 points at which the gravitational pull of the two objects is balanced out. And that's a great place for a satellite because it won't need to use as much fuel to make minor corrections to its positioning. I looked at a diagram of the 5 Lagrange points between the Earth and the Sun. 4 make some sort of sense to me, and 1 is a complete mystery. Today's expression is a phrasal verb, and it is turn over. There are many ways to use this very versatile phrasal verb, but as usual, we will focus on just one way to use it today. And that way is this. To turn something over is to give control of it to someone else. You heard today about the James Webb Space Telescope. An international team developed and launched the satellite, but a very different part of the agency will operate it now that it's up there. The team that launched the satellite will turn it over to the Space Telescope Science Institute in Baltimore. That means the team that designed, built, and launched the telescope will give control to a new team at the Space Telescope Science Institute. They will turn the telescope over to the new agency. In the early days of plain English, I used to put all the lessons on the website myself. That was my responsibility. But a few years ago, I turned that responsibility over to JR. Now he's the one in charge of making sure you get your full and complete lessons at the correct URL every Monday and Thursday. When I turned that responsibility over to JR, I gave him control over that part of our process. What happens to a small family business when the founder is ready to retire? The founder can sell the business. In that case, he or she would turn the business over to whoever bought it. Other times, founders turn it over to the next generation. They turn their businesses over to their kids or someone else in the family to continue to run it. Hong Kong was a British colony from 1841 until 1997, with a brief exception during World War II. In 1997, the British government turned Hong Kong over to China. For over 150 years, Hong Kong was a British colony, meaning that it was part of British territory. But then the UK signed an agreement with China to give official sovereignty over Hong Kong to China. As part of the process to turn Hong Kong over, the UK and China signed an agreement that guaranteed Hong Kong could live under its old system of government and commerce for 50 years. Just 25 years after Britain turned Hong Kong over to China, Hong Kong has lost the political freedom it once had. So much for that 50-year guarantee. Harvey Weinstein is a former Hollywood producer. He was convicted of sexual assault in New York State in 2021. Now, he is on trial in California. These types of crimes in the U.S. are state crimes. So a state has custody of a suspect, a state prosecutes the defendant, and the state can imprison someone found guilty of the crime. Well, after the New York trial, Weinstein was sentenced to 23 years in prison in New York. But he is also facing charges in California, a different state. So New York turned him over to California to face trial there. He still has to go to jail in New York, but New York gave responsibility for him to California for his current trial. New York turned him over to California. El Chapo, the former Mexican drug lord, was captured for the third and hopefully last time in 2016 in Mexico. Mexican police captured him, but they turned him over to the United States, where he stood trial, was convicted, and is now serving a life sentence. Today's song of the week is Next to Me by Emily Sandé. This is a great song about the loyalty of her partner. She sings about a man that won't be drinking until late, gambling, or being unfaithful because I'll find him next to me, she says. It's a good song. It reminds me of another singer's style, but I can't put my finger on it. Have a listen. You may have heard it before. It came out about 10 years ago. Next to Me by Emily Sandé. All right, that's it for today. Lesson number 491. Today is August 4th, 2022. That's the day this lesson will be released. And as I said, I want to do something special for lesson number 500, which is scheduled to come out on September 5th, 2022. That's a month from now, so we have a month to get ready. And I have two things I want to do for episode 500. First, I want to live stream it to Instagram and Facebook. So you can watch me do it on video. I have never done that before, but we'll do it for 500. And the second thing I want to do is put together a video featuring all of you. Well, maybe not all of you, that would be a long video. Well, a video with as many of you as possible sharing your stories. I've talked a lot over 491 lessons, so I think it's time to let some of you talk as well. So to facilitate that, I've set up a website at plainenglish.com/500, 500. Now, normally, that would take you to a lesson page, but this will be the exception. If you're listening to this in August, that page will help you get ready for the 500th episode special. It will help you connect with us on Instagram and Facebook, your choice, and it will let you record a video to be part of the montage. It's so simple. You can do it right from your phone, right on that page. Just 2 or 3 taps and you'll be recording. plainenglish.com/500. Go ahead and do that now. Record your video. And if you're listening after September 5th, 2022, that page is where you'll find the big result of our celebration. plainenglish.com/500 will live forever. Here in August, that's where you can be part of the celebration. In September 2022 and beyond, that's where you can see the final result. Either way, your job is to go to plainenglish.com/500. Do that now. You won't regret it.